The great council chamber aboard the flagship Stellar Crown buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 12 star systems sat around the massive circular table, their various alien forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. At the head of the table sat Empress Naya, her silver scales catching the soft blue light that filled the room. Her large amber eyes moved carefully from one delegate to another as they discussed the terms of the peace treaty. Marcus Chen stood at attention near the wall, his human form looking small compared to the towering alien guards around him. He wore the deep blue uniform of the Imperial Guard, though many still questioned why a human had been given such an important position. His dark eyes watched everything in the room, just as he had been trained to do. The peace talks had been going on for 3 days now. The Zalari Empire was trying to end a war that had lasted for over 20 years. Many planets had been destroyed and millions of lives had been lost. Everyone hoped this meeting would finally bring peace to the galaxy. Empress Naya raised her elegant hand to speak. Her voice was soft but carried the authority of someone who ruled over billions of beings. "The terms we have discussed today seem fair to all parties," she said. "I believe we can move forward with signing the treaty tomorrow morning." The delegates nodded in agreement. Some looked relieved, others appeared cautious. Marcus noticed that Prime Advisor Cole, a tall, thin alien with green skin and 4 arms, seemed particularly tense. His yellow eyes kept darting around the room as if he expected trouble. Suddenly, Empress Naya stopped speaking mid-sentence. Her hand moved to her throat and she began to breathe heavily. The silver scales on her face started to change color, slowly shifting to a deep purple shade. "Your Majesty," called out Defense Minister Reeve, a thick-bodied alien with rough brown skin. "Are you feeling well?" The Empress tried to stand but stumbled backward into her chair. Her breathing became more labored and strange patterns began to appear on her skin. Thin lines of light started glowing beneath her scales, creating complex designs across her face and hands. Prime Advisor Cole jumped to his feet. "Guards, seal the chamber immediately! Someone has poisoned the Empress." Chaos erupted in the room. Delegates began shouting at each other in different languages. Some accused others of treachery, while others demanded to know what was happening. The various alien guards drew their weapons and began surrounding the table. Dr. Vex, the royal physician, rushed to the Empress's side. He was a small alien with blue skin and 6 thin arms that moved like tentacles. He quickly began scanning her with various medical devices. "Her body temperature is rising rapidly," Dr. Vex announced. "Her blood chemistry is changing. This appears to be some kind of toxic reaction." Marcus watched from his position, but something felt wrong to him. He had studied many different alien species during his training, and this did not look like any poisoning he had ever seen. The patterns on the Empress's skin were too organized, too purposeful. "Check all the food and drinks," ordered Prime Advisor Cole. "Search every delegate. Find out who did this." Defense Minister Reeve began pointing at different groups around the table. It had to be the Corvin delegation. They were against this peace treaty from the beginning. "How dare you accuse us?" shouted Ambassador Zen, a tall alien with red skin and multiple eyes. "We came here in good faith." The argument grew louder as more accusations flew around the room. Meanwhile, Dr. Vex continued working on the Empress. He injected her with several different medicines, trying to counter what he believed was poison. The Empress's condition grew worse. Her entire body began to shake and the purple color spread across more of her scales. The glowing patterns became brighter and more complex. To everyone else in the room, it looked like she was dying. Marcus stepped closer, ignoring the chaos around him. Something about those patterns looked familiar. During his cultural studies, he had spent months learning about ancient Zalari history. There had been something in the old texts about patterns like these. "Dr. Vex," Marcus called out. "What exactly are those patterns on her skin?" The doctor barely looked up from his work. "Random neural firing caused by the toxin. Her nervous system is shutting down." But Marcus shook his head. The patterns were not random at all. They followed a specific sequence, moving from her face down to her arms in a precise order. He remembered reading about something similar in the Forbidden Archives during his exchange program years ago. "We need to contact the home world immediately," Prime Advisor Cole announced. "Prepare for emergency succession protocols. If the Empress dies, we must be ready to maintain order." "She is not going to die," Dr. Vex said firmly, though his voice carried doubt. "I will save her." Marcus watched as the doctor prepared another injection. This one was much larger than the others, and the liquid inside glowed with an ominous red light. "What is that medicine?" Marcus asked. A powerful toxin neutralizer, Dr. Vex replied. It will flush her system of any poison. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. If he was right about what was really happening to the Empress, that injection could kill her. But no one would listen to a human guard when the royal physician was giving orders. The Empress's body convulsed more violently. The purple color had now covered most of her visible skin, and the glowing patterns had spread down her arms and across her chest. Her breathing was shallow and rapid. Hold her steady, Dr. Vex instructed the guards. I need to administer this injection directly into her bloodstream. Marcus knew he had to act fast. The ancient texts had been very clear about what would happen if the process was interrupted. But how could he convince a room full of panicked aliens that their own medical knowledge was wrong? Prime Advisor Cole, Marcus said, stepping forward. I request permission to speak. Cole turned to him with angry yellow eyes. This is not the time for human opinions, guard. Step back and do your job. My job is to protect the Empress, Marcus replied firmly, and I believe Dr. Vex is about to make a terrible mistake. The room fell silent for a moment. Dr. Vex looked up from his work with surprise and anger. How dare you question my medical expertise, the doctor hissed. I have been treating Zalari physiology for over 50 years. I understand that, Marcus said carefully. But I have studied ancient Zalari history. Those patterns on her skin are not random. They follow the sequence described in the old texts about something called the Great Renewal. Prime Advisor Cole laughed bitterly. Great Renewal? That is just myth and legend. Old stories with no basis in reality. Are you sure about that? Marcus asked. When was the last time anyone in the Zalari Empire actually experienced a natural lifespan? Your people have been using life extension technology for over 1,000 years. Dr. Vex paused with the injection needle in his hand. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that your species may have forgotten some important aspects of your own biology, Marcus explained. The ancient texts describe a transformation that Zalari royalty would undergo during times of great crisis. A change that would grant them enhanced abilities and wisdom. Nonsense, scoffed Defense Minister Reeve. Our ancestors were primitive. We have evolved beyond such biological limitations. But Marcus noticed that Dr. Vex was hesitating. The physician's multiple arms were trembling slightly as he held the injection. Dr. Vex, Marcus continued, according to the texts, this transformation only occurs once in a lifetime, and only when the individual faces the greatest challenge of their reign. The Empress has been trying to end a 20-year war. This peace treaty could change the entire galaxy. The Empress's convulsions suddenly became more violent. Her body arched backward and a low humming sound began to emerge from her throat. The glowing patterns pulsed in rhythm with the sound. We are running out of time, Dr. Vex announced. I must give her this injection now. Wait, Marcus pleaded. Just look at the patterns more carefully. They are not random neural firing. They form specific shapes that match the ancient royal seal of the Zalari Empire. Several delegates moved closer to look. Marcus was right. The glowing lines on the Empress's skin were forming the complex geometric design that had been the symbol of Zalari royalty for thousands of years. That could just be coincidence. Prime Advisor Cole insisted, but his voice sounded less certain than before. What if it is not? Marcus asked. What if interrupting this process kills her? What if the thing that could save your empire is the one thing your modern medicine does not understand? Dr. Vex lowered the injection slightly. His blue skin had turned pale and his 6 arms were shaking more noticeably. The texts you mentioned, he said quietly. Where exactly did you read about them? In the sealed archives on Zalari Prime, Marcus replied. During my cultural exchange program 3 years ago, I was studying the historical relationship between biological evolution and social development in different species. Those archives have been sealed for centuries, Prime Advisor Cole said suspiciously. How did a human gain access to them? Professor Yill gave me special permission, Marcus explained. He said that outsider perspectives could sometimes reveal truth that those too close to a subject might miss. The humming sound from the Empress grew louder, and the patterns on her skin began to pulse faster. Her body seemed to be generating its own light now, making her appear almost ethereal. If you are wrong about this, Dr. Vex said slowly, the Empress will die. If I am right and you give her that injection, Marcus replied, she will also die. But worse than that, your entire species will lose something that evolution spent millions of years developing. The room remained tense and silent except for the strange humming sound. Every alien in the chamber was watching the human guard who claimed to understand their Empress better than they did. Defense Minister Reeve stepped forward. Even if this human is correct about some ancient biological process, we cannot take the risk. The Empress is the foundation of our entire empire. Without her, there will be civil war. And with her transformation, Marcus countered, there could be lasting peace. Not just an end to this current war, but the wisdom and ability to prevent future conflicts. Prime Advisor Cole moved closer to examine the Empress. The patterns on her skin had grown even more complex, forming intricate designs that seemed to tell a story. He recognized some of the symbols from the most ancient artifacts in the Imperial collection. How long is this process supposed to take? He asked reluctantly. According to the texts, 3 days and 3 nights, Marcus answered. But only if it is allowed to complete naturally. Any interference could be fatal. Dr. Vex looked at the injection in his hand, then at the Empress, then back at Marcus. The weight of the decision was crushing. Everything he had learned in his medical training told him to treat what appeared to be poisoning. But something about the human's words rang true. The Empress's breathing began to stabilize slightly, though the patterns continued to spread across her body. The humming sound grew more melodic, almost like singing. 3 days, Prime Advisor Cole repeated. 3 days without medical intervention while the leader of our empire undergoes some mythical transformation, based on the word of a human guard, based on the word of someone who took the time to study and respect your history. Marcus corrected gently. Someone who was not raised to dismiss the wisdom of your ancestors as primitive superstition. The truth of those words hit hard. The Zalari had spent so many centuries focused on technological advancement that they had indeed begun to view their own past as backward and irrelevant. Dr. Vex slowly lowered the injection completely. If we do this, if we wait and watch instead of treating her, I want it understood that I'm acting against my medical judgment. Understood, Prime Advisor Cole said grimly. But I am beginning to think that sometimes medical judgment is not enough. The delegates watched in fascination and fear as the Empress's transformation continued. The patterns on her skin told the entire history of the Zalari people, from their earliest days on their homeworld to their expansion across the galaxy. It was as if her body was becoming a living record of her species' journey through time. Marcus remained at his post, but he felt the weight of every gaze in the room. He had convinced them to gamble the life of their Empress on ancient texts and educated guesses. If he was wrong, the consequences would be catastrophic. But as he watched the patterns continue to form and the Empress's vital signs stabilize, he became more confident that he had made the right choice. The human guard who saw what others could not had potentially saved not just a life, but the future of an entire civilization. The first day of the Great Renewal had begun. The first night passed slowly aboard the Stellar Crown. Marcus had not left his post beside the Empress, watching as the glowing patterns continued to spread across her body. The transformation was unlike anything anyone in the room had ever witnessed. Her silver scales had turned completely purple now, and the luminescent designs covered her from head to toe. Dr. Vex monitored her vital signs constantly, his 6 arms working different medical scanners at the same time. Her brain activity is unlike anything in our medical records, he reported to Prime Advisor Cole. The neural pathways are restructuring themselves. Is that dangerous? Asked Defense Minister Reeve, who had remained in the chamber despite his obvious discomfort. I do not know, Dr. Vex admitted. This is completely outside my experience. Marcus studied the patterns more closely. They were telling a story, just as the ancient texts had described. The designs near her head showed the early history of the Zalari people. Images of their home world, their first discoveries of space travel, their early contacts with other species. The patterns are moving, observed Ambassador Zen, who had stayed to witness the unprecedented event. They are changing and flowing like living art. They represent the collective memory of the Zalari species, Marcus explained. Each royal bloodline carries genetic markers that connect them to their people's entire history. During the Great Renewal, that connection becomes visible. Prime Advisor Cole frowned. You speak as if you understand this process completely. But these are just ancient legends. Sometimes legends contain more truth than modern science wants to admit, Marcus replied. Your ancestors understood things about your biology that current technology cannot measure. The Empress's breathing remained steady, but she had not opened her eyes or responded to any stimulus since the transformation began. The humming sound continued, growing stronger during certain phases of the pattern changes. How do we know she is not suffering? Asked Dr. Vex. Her brain scans show intense activity. It could be causing her pain. Marcus shook his head. According to the texts, the transformation brings visions and knowledge, not pain. She is experiencing the wisdom of every Zalari leader who came before her. And you believe this will make her a better ruler? Prime Advisor Cole asked skeptically. I believe it will give her abilities that your empire needs to survive, Marcus answered. The power to understand the needs and feelings of all the different species in your territory. The wisdom to see solutions that others cannot find. The second day brought new challenges. Several delegates had returned to their ships, uncomfortable with remaining near what they still believed might be a dying empress. Others stayed out of curiosity or political necessity. Marcus noticed that the patterns were becoming more complex. The historical images near the Empress's head had been replaced by symbols he did not recognize. These seemed to represent concepts rather than events, ideas about leadership, understanding, and connection between different forms of life. Her cellular structure is changing too, Dr. Vex reported. Her scales are becoming more flexible and new neural connections are forming throughout her body. What kind of neural connections? Marcus asked. Pathways that extend beyond the brain, the doctor explained. It appears as though her entire body is becoming a sensory organ of some kind. This matched what Marcus had read in the ancient texts. The Great Renewal was supposed to enhance the ruler's ability to understand and connect with their subjects. If the Empress could literally feel the emotions and needs of her people, she would be able to lead them with unprecedented effectiveness. This is fascinating from a scientific perspective, admitted Dr. Vex. But I am still concerned about the risks. The only risk now is interrupting the process, Marcus said firmly. We are past the point where medical intervention could help. Either the transformation completes successfully, or it does not. Prime Advisor Cole had been unusually quiet during the second day. He spent long periods studying the patterns on the Empress's skin, occasionally asking Marcus to explain certain symbols. Despite his initial skepticism, he was beginning to accept that something extraordinary was happening. If this transformation gives her new abilities, he said eventually, how will that affect the structure of our government? The balance of power in the empire? That will be up to the Empress to decide, Marcus replied. But I suspect she will be more interested in serving her people than controlling them. Defense Minister Reeve looked uncomfortable with this idea. Strong leadership requires clear authority. If the Empress becomes too focused on understanding everyone's feelings, she might become weak and indecisive. Or she might become strong enough to make decisions that truly benefit everyone, Marcus countered. Real strength comes from wisdom, not from force. The patterns on the Empress's skin began to pulse faster as the second night approached. The humming sound grew louder and more complex, almost like a symphony. Marcus realized that the sound was not random either. It followed musical patterns that matched the visual designs. She is singing, Ambassador Zen observed with wonder. Even unconscious, she is creating music. It is the song of her people, Marcus explained. Every species has its own unique frequency, its own natural harmony. The transformation is connecting her to that fundamental essence. Dr. Vex recorded everything, knowing that this event would be studied for generations. Whatever happens, we are witnessing something that has not occurred for over 1,000 years. This could change our understanding of Zalari biology forever. The third day brought the most dramatic changes. The patterns on the Empress's skin began to move more rapidly, swirling and shifting like liquid light. Her body temperature rose again, but this time Dr. Vex's scanners showed that the heat was being generated and controlled deliberately. Her metabolism is operating at levels that should be impossible, the doctor reported, yet all her organs remained stable and healthy. Marcus watched as the patterns began to form new shapes. These were not historical images or abstract concepts, but representations of the current galaxy. He could see the different star systems, the various species, even the war zones where fighting continued despite the peace negotiations. She is seeing everything, he said with amazement. The transformation is giving her awareness of the entire empire and beyond. How is that possible? Prime Advisor Cole asked. Quantum entanglement, Marcus suggested. If the royal bloodline really does carry genetic connections to all Zalari people, and those people are scattered throughout the galaxy, then maybe consciousness can follow those connections. Dr. Vex looked up from his scanners with excitement. The neural activity patterns support that theory. She is not just processing information about her own body. There are data streams coming from external sources. The Empress's breathing became deeper and more rhythmic. The humming sound grew softer but more complex, containing harmonies that seemed to represent different worlds and species. Everyone in the chamber could feel something changing in the air around them. It is almost over, Marcus announced. The final phase is beginning. The patterns on the Empress's skin began to slow their movement. Instead of swirling and changing constantly, they started to settle into stable configurations. The purple color began to fade slightly, allowing hints of the original silver scales to show through. Her brain activity is stabilizing, Dr. Vex reported, but at levels much higher than normal Zalari baseline. She will be different when she awakens, Marcus warned. More than she was before, but still herself. Prime Advisor Cole nodded grimly. I hope you are right about this, human. The future of our empire depends on it. As the third night fell, the chamber grew quiet except for the gentle humming from the Empress. The patterns on her skin had formed their final configuration, a complex mandala that encompassed her entire body. At its center over her heart was the ancient royal seal of the Zalari Empire. Marcus felt exhaustion creeping through his body. He had not slept for 3 days, refusing to leave his post even when others offered to watch over the Empress. But he knew his vigil was almost over. Just before dawn on the 4th day, the humming stopped. The sudden silence was startling after 3 days of continuous sound. Everyone in the chamber turned to look at the Empress, who lay perfectly still on the medical platform. Then her eyes opened. They were no longer the amber color they had been before. Now they held depths of silver and purple that seemed to shift and swirl like galaxies. When she looked around the room, Marcus felt as though she was seeing not just their physical forms, but their thoughts and feelings as well. The Empress sat up slowly, her movements graceful and controlled. The patterns on her skin continued to glow softly, though much dimmer than during the transformation. When she spoke, her voice carried new harmonics that seemed to resonate in everyone's chest. I understand now, she said simply. Prime Advisor Cole stepped forward cautiously. Your Majesty, how do you feel? I feel everything, she replied, turning those strange new eyes toward him. I feel your worry about the Empire, your fear that I have changed too much. I feel Dr. Vex's scientific fascination mixed with medical concern. I feel Defense Minister Reeves' uncertainty about whether I am still strong enough to lead. She looked at each person in turn, naming emotions and thoughts that they had not spoken aloud. When her gaze reached Marcus, she smiled with genuine warmth. And I feel this human's deep respect for my people and his joy, that his faith in ancient wisdom has been proven correct. Marcus bowed his head. Your Majesty. You saved my life, Marcus Chen, the Empress said. More than that, you saved my people's future. Without this transformation, I would have remained a ruler limited by my own perspective. Now I can feel the needs of every world in our empire. She stood up from the platform and Marcus noticed that she moved differently now. Each step seemed to be in perfect harmony with some rhythm only she could hear. The peace treaty, she continued, is just the beginning. I can sense the fears and hopes of every species involved in these negotiations. I know exactly what each group needs to feel secure and valued. Prime Advisor Cole looked amazed. You can truly sense the emotions of beings on other ships? Not just emotions, the Empress replied. I can feel their deepest needs, their cultural values, their dreams for the future. The transformation has connected me to the life force of every sentient being in this region of space. Dr. Vex stepped forward with his scanners. Your Majesty, if I may, I would like to document these new abilities for medical records. Of course, she agreed. This knowledge must be preserved so that future generations understand what they lost when they abandoned the old ways. As Dr. Vex conducted his scans, the Empress explained what she had experienced during the 3 days. I lived through the memories of every Zalari ruler who came before me. I felt their struggles, learned from their mistakes, gained their wisdom. But more than that, I was connected to the collective consciousness of our entire species. And now? Asked Defense Minister Reeve. Now I carry that connection with me permanently, she answered. I am still myself, but I am also part of something larger. I can feel when our people are suffering, when they are happy, when they need guidance. She turned to address all the delegates who had remained. I know that some of you stayed here out of curiosity, others out of duty, but each of you has witnessed something that will change the galaxy forever. Ambassador Zen spoke up. Your Majesty, what does this mean for the peace negotiations? The Empress smiled, and there was something in that expression that had not been there before, a depth of understanding that seemed almost infinite. It means that for the first time in galactic history, you will be negotiating with someone who truly understands what each of your species needs to thrive, not just what you say you want, but what you actually require for long-term prosperity and happiness. She walked around the chamber, stopping in front of each delegate. As she looked at them, their expressions changed from skepticism to wonder to hope. You, Ambassador Zen, represent a species that values honor above all else. Your people need to feel that this peace treaty acknowledges their courage and sacrifice during the war. She moved to the next delegate. Your people need security guarantees that go beyond military protection. They need to know that their cultural traditions will be respected and preserved. One by one, she addressed each representative, demonstrating an understanding of their species that went far beyond anything that could be learned through normal diplomatic channels. Prime Advisor Cole watched in amazement. This is unprecedented. With these abilities, you could unite the entire galaxy under Zalari rule. The Empress shook her head. That is not what the galaxy needs. Unity, yes, but not through domination. True peace comes from understanding and cooperation, not conquest. She returned to the center of the chamber and addressed everyone present. The Great Renewal has shown me that every species has unique gifts to contribute. The Zalari are meant to be facilitators and mediators, not rulers and conquerors. Marcus felt a surge of pride and hope. This was exactly what he had hoped would happen. The transformation had not just enhanced the Empress's abilities, it had given her the wisdom to use those abilities for the benefit of all. There will be changes to how our empire operates, the Empress continued. More autonomy for member worlds, more representation for different species, more focus on cooperation than control. Defense Minister Reeve looked concerned. Your Majesty, some will see these changes as weakness. There may be those who try to take advantage. Let them try, the Empress replied with quiet confidence. They will find it difficult to oppose a government that truly understands and serves its people. Dr. Vex finished his scans and looked up with excitement. Your Majesty, the physiological changes are remarkable. Your neural capacity has increased by approximately 30%, and you have developed new sensory organs that I do not even have names for. The transformation was not just mental or spiritual, the Empress explained. My entire body has been enhanced to support these new abilities. I will live longer, think more clearly, and remain connected to my people throughout my extended lifespan. Prime Advisor Cole stepped forward. Your Majesty, what role would you like Marcus Chen to play in the new government? His understanding of our history and biology has proven invaluable. The Empress looked at Marcus with those deep, shifting eyes. Marcus Chen will become my senior cultural advisor. His ability to see truths that others miss will help ensure that we never again lose touch with our own heritage. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the honor. Your Majesty, I am just a guard. You are much more than that, she replied. You are the human who understood my people better than they understood themselves. You are the one who saved not just my life, but the future of galactic civilization. She turned to address the entire chamber one final time. Let this be a lesson to all of us. Wisdom can come from unexpected sources. Truth can be found in ancient texts that modern science has dismissed, and sometimes it takes an outsider to help us see what we have forgotten about ourselves. The peace treaty was signed the next day, but it was unlike any agreement in galactic history. Instead of simple ceasefire terms and territorial arrangements, it included provisions for cultural exchange, mutual understanding, and cooperative governance. Every species involved felt that their needs had been truly heard and addressed. Marcus stood at his new post beside the Empress as she signed the historic document. The patterns on her skin glowed softly, a constant reminder of the transformation that had changed everything. This is just the beginning. she said to him quietly. There are other ancient texts, other forgotten wisdoms that we need to rediscover. Will you help me find them? Marcus nodded. It would be my honor, Your Majesty. As the ceremony concluded and representatives from 12 star systems celebrated the end of a 20-year war, Marcus reflected on how much had changed in just 4 days. A human guard had become a senior advisor. An empire based on conquest had become a federation based on cooperation. And an ancient biological process dismissed as myth had proven to be the key to galactic peace. The Empress was right. This was just the beginning. With her new abilities and his knowledge of forgotten histories, they would work together to unlock other secrets that could benefit all of galactic civilization. The human who saw what others could not had helped transform not just an individual, but an entire empire. And in doing so, he had proven once again that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology or their military might, but in their unique ability to understand and preserve the best qualities of other species. The Great Renewal was complete, and a new age of galactic cooperation had begun.